This is your boy. This is Rolando. Welcome again to the Spark Unleashed Challenge. The Spark Unleashed Challenge. This is named day number 2. And I am so excited and I want to welcome you wherever you are. I want to welcome you to day number 2. If you missed it yesterday, I do apologize. Yesterday we were having some serious technical difficulties, and that sort of threw a wrench into a presentation. But once again, this evening, we are going to dive into exploring ways that as men we can seek to maintain good mental wellness, good healthy relationships. And I just want to say, welcome to wherever you are. So, if you're joining us for the very first time, wherever you are around Canada, in the United States, in Asia, in Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, we welcome you. And we want you guys to know that we appreciate the fact that you have decided to spend some of your Saturday afternoon here with us on the Spark Unleashed Challenge. If you're down in Australia, maybe a Sunday morning Thank you for getting up so early to be here with us. Today, we are going to go on a journey. I hope you are ready. Are you ready? Because I am ready. As usual, we continue to encourage and remind you that personal development is not an event, it is a lifestyle. And so, our goal as we join with you here is to seek to give you tools to build your skills in how you can practice this lifestyle and be more effective and more efficient to have healthy relationships, not just with those in your home, but also a healthy relationship with yourself. So, today I want you to fasten your seatbelts and I want us to take this journey together. Last evening, if you were not here, you can go and look at our live feed from yesterday's presentation. Yesterday, we talked about the 5 pillars of a good life, a healthy life. And listen, I'm telling you, if you were not here, you missed something. But you can always go back and listen to it. And please, we want you to share your comments. We want you to like. And we also want you to subscribe if this is your first time here. And so, fasten your seatbelts and let's take this journey together as we seek to explore and discover tips and tools that we can use in order to improve our mental health and wellness. So, welcome. Welcome, whoever you are and wherever you're joining us from. I just wanted to say welcome to you. So we are going to dive right into our presentation now. And please remember, later we have a Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, if you have anything you'd like to discuss, if after a break you'd like to jump on a live life coaching call, then we want you guys to know that all of that is available to you right here on the Spark Unleashed Challenge. Because our goal here is to seek to create a safe space for men. And as we create more safe spaces for men, we will break stigmas, we will improve relationships, and we'll help more men to become the best version of themselves. So, where are you joining us from? We'd like you to type in the chat as well so that we can acknowledge you. So, for the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to take that deep dive into discovering and rediscovering tips, tools that you can use to improve on your mental wellness. So, as I bring my presentation up here, I invite you guys to, as I say, any comments that you may have, we want you to be okay to share that, right? Any comments you may have, please, we want you to know that this is the space where we're inviting you to share your thoughts, share your comments. Let us know where you're at. Let us know what's going on. And let's take this journey together, right? Because that is very important for me to know that you are at least benefiting from this presentation. So let's jump into our presentation right now. Let me bring that up screen and we are going to take that journey. Okay, here we go. It's coming. Workshop. And the views that are expressed here are based on research, and we're saying that if you are ready for this journey, I want you to say ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I am ready. What about you? Are you ready? Well, I am ready. And tonight we are going to experience something powerful together. I'm so excited that you are here. I'm excited that you've taken the time to be here. And I want you to know that I will be giving this tonight my best shot. And if you have any question, anything not clear, you can reach us later. So let's jump right into a presentation. Okay, let's jump into it. Now, I want to start by sharing with you my own story. My own story. And how did I get into the field, the business of personal development? Right? I started from very humble beginnings. If you see that handsome young chap there, that's me several years ago. That's me several years ago. And that's where I started. Those are some of my siblings. And the two that their face is quite clear, bless their hearts. One of them is no longer here, right? She passed away a little over a year and a half or two ago. But those are my sisters with whom I'm standing, and that's me, that handsome young fellow in the red shirt. And then as time go on, I grew, I got older, and now that's me in that blue blazer, and that's my youngest son, right? That's my youngest son. He is the love of my life, my son, and he knows it. And if he were here, he'd say like, "Daddy, come on, cut it out," right? But that's when he was much younger. He's a bit older now, but that's how my journey started, and over time, you know, I continued to explore. But before I got to where I became a father and had my own son, this is a picture of the home that I grew up in. Okay, that home today is valued at maybe, not too much, maybe maybe two, 20 or 30,000 Canadian dollars. So very humble beginning. And in that community is where, I recognized that there were so many different things that can happen to you as a young child of which you're not aware. And these things impact you. And the impact of these things, they continue to plague you psychologically and emotionally. And they affect the outlook that you have of yourself. Because this community was a very hostile environment for a young man to grow up in. The funny thing about it is the hostility there was normalized. So you're in it, but you're not recognizing how it's impacting you. But then as life goes on, fortunately, I was a graduate. I was able to go to high school, but my high school journey ended prematurely because I attended high school, but I was a high school dropout because of my humble beginnings. There wasn't the luxury of my dad being able to provide the financial support for me to do my exit exams from high school, so I had to leave prematurely, and life went on. And so for years, I was out there trying to find myself, not knowing who I was or where I'm going, not understanding myself as I should. And so it just so happened that that's how, or all I knew. That was me when I after high school. And so my journey continued, and my life was just going, what I would say, in a circle, in a cycle. And it's a cycle that was never ending, but wasn't changing. I wasn't sure where I was going or what direction to take. At 17 years of age, I was already in that space of confusion. I dropped out of high school and I was trying to find myself. And finding myself wasn't the easiest thing to do, being raised in a community where there was so much hostility, gang violence, domestic violence was in the home, bullying in the community, bullying at school. Okay. And so I was really a product. I was fast becoming a product of my environment. But as time went on, I started to discover myself. And years later, I was able to leave that community and celebrate the idea of being an author. So years later, as I left that community and I started to find myself, I wrote one of my first books, giving myself permission to grow. And from this authorship, that's where I was able to share tidbits of my own story along with research evidence and other practical ideas from my own journey. I was also fortunate enough to find myself through my spiritual discovery, which led to me writing my second book, What God Thinks About Psychology, where I seek to bring that balance between psychology and spirituality. And so that has been the essence of my journey. And my presentation today is going to be taken from the first book that I've authored, Giving Myself Permission to Grow, along with other references. And my goal and my hope is that you will connect with some of the information that is going to be shared here tonight so that you can start taking the initiative to become the best version of yourself. So, are you ready to dive in? Are you ready to take that step? Because, listen, I'm telling you right now, this is where the rubber is going to meet the road. And I just wanted to remind you that as I'm doing the presentation, if you have a question, please type it in the chat because this is going to be a space, a safe space. All right. This is not a space where there's going to be a lot of judgment against you. This is not a space where you need to be fearful. This is a safe space for men like you and like me. All right. Later, when you have our breaks, if you want, we can jump on to a live coaching call and we can talk about some of the stuff that I present in the personal development program here on the Spark Unleashed Challenge, a space for men, run by men, a space where we're saying, hey, guess what? Right here at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. So come on into this space. Come on into this space and let's populate this space together as we go on this journey. So the inspiration for my book came from this map that you're seeing. And as I engage more and more into life coaching and psychotherapy, I started learning that there are some valuable things that we need to be mindful of if we are going to have good, healthy mindset, good, healthy body, good, healthy, how do I say it, perspective, and we're able to be resilient from day to day. We're able to confront challenges with positivity. We'll be able to break out of cycles to become the best version of ourselves. And so the idea behind this presentation is to challenge you to look at things with a new lens, right? The essence of this presentation is to say, irrespective of what you're maybe going through right now, this presentation is going to challenge you to start looking a little deeper, to start changing the worldview that you have of yourself, and to be able to sit down and do introspection as you start talking more about possibilities for change. So let's dive into our presentation. The first thing that we want to look at from our map is notice there are 7 points on the map. We talk about push, rest, open up, balance, letting go, evaluate, and maintenance. From this map, our presentation is going to take us on the journey. So the first thing we're looking at is to keep pushing. Keep pushing. We have to remember this. This is very important. We defeat challenges when we are persistent. The reality of it and the fact of the matter is this: there are many persons now who they have this concept that life should be smooth sailing all the time. They have this concept that, whenever challenges come, uh, it's a sign or a show that it's not for me, or the challenges are too much and it should not be happening to me. But the question that I would ask you in this presentation is, why not you? What makes you so special that challenges should ignore you? What I want you to remember is challenges are not unique to you. Everyone goes through challenges. Everyone faces challenge, right? At some time or the other, everyone faces challenges. What we want to learn and understand is that challenges are not there to break us, but to make us. Challenges are not there to put us to a place where we feel inadequate or helpless or hopeless. Challenges are there in order to open us up to new possibilities. So we defeat those challenges when we are persistent. In other words, we cannot quit. If you're sharpening a knife, notice it's a matter of the frequency of the filing that makes the blade sharp enough so it can go through objects. You are sometimes being sharpened by challenges so that you can go through the different objects that comes your way in life. So we defeat challenges when we are persistent. Persistence is key. In psychology, we talk about that the law of adaptability. And oftentimes when challenges comes our way, that's our opportunity to seek to do something differently. That's our opportunity to adapt, adjust. That's our opportunity to discover ourselves and to learn things about ourselves that we did not know before. So challenges are there as a part of the process of change, right? For some of us, believe it or not, if we are never challenged, guess what? We never grow. If we're never challenged, we are never forced to come out of our comfort zone. So challenges oftentimes they show up so that we can come out of our comfort zone. But it happens when we are persistent, when we are going at it. So the question here is what is the process of change that happens in the brain called, right? It is called neuroplasticity. This is not an uncommon word. You might have heard it before, right? But here is the clincher. Neuroplasticity doesn't just happen when something occurs only once. It takes place when there are frequency, right? When there is a pattern, when the brain recognizes that, hey, something is going on here with this person that I see it happening more frequently than none. And through those frequent behaviors, through you making that effort constantly, time and time again, then the brain starts to record these behaviors, record these movements, and neuroplasticity starts to occur and it creates a new pathway. Why? Because those neurons, those excitatory neurons, right? Those neurons that are there just waiting to be introduced to this new behavior creates the capacity for us to do something different, to do something extraordinary. That's neuroplasticity. Okay. And in this video, we have Dr. Dan Siegel who explains it a little bit more. Let's see if we can play that video and listen to what he's saying here. Wow, that is powerful. That's powerful. So we can train our mind through mind sight, right? And whatever our focus of attention is, that is what becomes our reality. So practice makes perfect, but practice also make permanent. So we can speak ourselves into deformity and stagnation or success and determination. And that is powerful. So we can speak ourselves into stagnation or determination. That is the power of the mind. So we want to be mindful of that. And we want to catch ourselves when that is happening and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do something differently. What is a necessary ingredient to encourage us to be persistent? Hope, right? Hope is the fuel that drives persistence. And you may be here, I'm not sure what's going on with you, and sometimes we do feel hopeless. I felt hopeless, okay? I felt like giving up. Nobody's perfect. So I'm not here to say, well, no, I have felt hopeless, but I've also experienced hope. And years ago, I was listening to another neuroscientist, right? I listened to him, and he said this. It was Dr. Bruce Perry. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said it this way: the difference on someone who goes into a brain surgery with hope and the one who doesn't is that the one who goes into the surgery with hope, their recovery time is much better than those who go in without. Wow. Isn't that powerful? Do you see how critical it is to not lose hope? And that's why when you feel sometimes like you are being bombarded by hopelessness, right? We have to take some time to reflect on, okay, is there a possibility that amidst this hopelessness, there are other emotions present? Who can I talk to? What can I do differently? How do I take myself out of this space? Do I need to journal? Do I need to sing? Do I need to dance? Do I need to pray? Do I need to do art? Do I need to go for walks, swim, go to the gym? What can I do to recreate myself and come out of this space where I feel hopeless and helpless? The next thing that we want to look at is, remember that persistence is stimulated by setting realistic goals. We want to set goals that are realistic. You see, we don't want to set ourselves up for failure. We want to look at what resources we have. We want to look at what supports we need. We want to start looking around to see, hey, who can I connect with, who can join me on this journey so that we can take this walk together to discover myself. So you see, persistence is stimulated. And I'm saying to you right now, wherever you are, whatever is going on, there is the possibility that you can do something different. There is always a possibility, but that possibility rather has to be made a reality through the choices that you make. As you are here right now and you're listening to this, we must hold ourselves accountable when we recognize that there is a need for change. Do you feel that something needs to change? No, I want you to think about it. The path that you're on right now, if you were to be brutally honest with yourself, do you realize that something needs to change? What is it? Is it a mindset? Is it a belief that you have about yourself? Is it that there's something going on with you that unless you make a U turn, you're heading to that precipice of self destruction? What is it that needs to change? I want you to reflect and ask that question. It's very important for you to zone in on what that looks like because no one else can do that for you but you. Why? Because your mental health is your responsibility. Can you repeat that? My mental health is my responsibility. My mental wellness is my responsibility. My psychological health is my responsibility. My emotional health is my responsibility. My physical health is my responsibility. My social health is my responsibility. It's your responsibility. And if you don't take the lead, who is going to do that for you? But the moment you hold yourself accountable, when you recognize that there's a need for change, the moment you hold yourself accountable, I'm telling you this, things will be different. Because as you hold yourself accountable, you're going to be more aggressive in engaging in doing the things that are necessary that's going to help to implement and initiate change. There's no miracle drug for this. The only miracle that this needs is your willingness to commit. Your willingness to commit. So, right now, I want to ask you a question. Are you willing to commit? And you don't have to answer it right away. I want you to think about what a commitment to this cause would look like for you so that you can start engaging in that process for change. So we want to identify the barriers of persistence. What are some barriers? And I outlined some barriers here. Fear. Are you fearful? Fear. The fear of judgment. The fear of not being good enough. The fear where you lack vision. The fear where you are in that resistance to change. The fear of hopelessness. Right? So if you look here, you're seeing that there are so many barriers that sometimes as men we have to deal with. I make excuses. I lack vision. I'm resistant. I lean over into hopelessness. What are some of the excuses that you have been traveling around on? What are some of the excuses that you have been settled with or settling for? I don't have the time. It's too much work. Want to take too long. Right? I'm too busy. I'll get to it when I get to it. So many excuses. Then we lack vision. What if it doesn't work? Then what? Okay? Well, do you have any proof? And the list goes on and on. But for some of us, there's so much resistance. We don't want to hear it. We get angry. We harbor resentment. We make so many different arguments around why we can't do it. So there's resistance. We have set up this mental block, And Marcus Garvey said years ago a statement that was made popular by Robert Nesta Marley, or Bob Marley, popularly known. And he said this in one of his songs. He said, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." And if we're resistant, we can't free our minds. But if we are humble, and if we are open to influence, and we turn away from being resistant, then the barriers to persistence can be eliminated sooner rather than later. And this is such a powerful thing. And I want you to think about it. I want you to recognize that you possess the capacity within you. It's within you. The decision to change is right there within you. It's just waiting for you to give it permission. It's just waiting for you to give it an invitation. It's just waiting for you to say, hey, it's time. I'm ready. I've had enough. This is destroying my life. It is putting me, my back is against the wall. I'm losing my family. I'm losing my friends. I'm losing all that's important to me. I'm putting my job at risk. I'm putting my character at risk. My personality is gone lower than ever. I'm losing my confidence, my self worth, my self esteem. I'm saying that you have got to start addressing some of these barriers, and you've got to do it right away. No more excuses. Now is the time for you to get on track and get it done. So, what is the one word to describe all the above noted barriers? What's the one word? Here's the one word: distractions. All those barriers, they're distractions. They are there to distract us from what's really important. Because sometimes, as men, a lot of the things that we're spending time doing and focus on, they don't matter. We put them, or we tell ourselves they matter, but they really don't matter. We prioritize them, but they really don't matter. We have got to zone in on what really matters. What makes sense? What do I need to do to be the best version? How is this thing going to bring value to my life? Do I need to cut ties? Do I need to let it go? Do I need to move on? Here's some of the things that I'm learning. I'm learning very fast that many of us as men, we're cowards, right? That's why we make excuses when it comes to us taking the initiative to do things that's going to help us to be better, because we're cowards. We are fearful. The real issue is not that you worry about who's going to see or who's going to judge you. The real issue is that I am not ready. So we create all these scenarios. And oftentimes the scenarios that we create or the things that we say, they're just distractions. So I want you to think right now about what you need to do to get rid of all the distractions in your life. What's the distraction? What's your distraction? Your distraction could be that you're in a toxic relationship and you need to get out, but you're a coward. You're afraid that if you get out of the relationship, then what are you going to do? Because you feel, hey, Rolando, guess what? I don't want to lose this person because what am I going to do? I don't. But sometimes your distraction is a toxic relationship. Sometimes the distraction is a friendship circle. Sometimes the distraction is a belief, a narrative that you have about yourself. Sometimes, believe it or not, the distraction is that you are listening to all the wrong people. Sometimes the distraction is a parent, a mentor, a colleague. So what distraction is there that you need to address? And I want you to zone in on that and recognize that, right? We are impacted by an entitlement mentality. Many of us were too entitled, right? And that's one of the things that I find is really destructive in our community, this idea of entitlement, right? Because having this outlook will cause us to experience psychological stagnation. That's why so many persons are struggling right now with their mental health because they're too entitled. And when they're challenged, they think, hey, no one should say no to me. I should get this on the first try. If this takes too long, I get flustered, I get frustrated, I start creating all these different ideas about myself, not recognizing that I may need to just double up and work a little harder. Understanding that it is with intentional work and discipline and principle that we are able to achieve success. But this idea of entitlement sometimes, hits us in the face, and it sort of derails us from experiencing the process that helps to build resilience. And we want to understand the value of growing and becoming resilient. But if we have the outlook of entitlement, guess what? It will cause us to experience stagnation. Persistence is the path that opens the door to endless possibilities, right? Sometimes we're there and we're thinking, why isn't this happening and why is this taking so long? Each time we go through a process, it prepares us to deal with something else, right? And so we want to look at, okay, what's my takeaway from the last time that something really psychological or emotionally painful happened? What are the lessons, or what lesson did I learn from that? That's the path of persistence. Persistent is the path that opens the door to endless possibilities. Because as you grow and you learn and you become better in one area, you expose yourself to the skill set that's needed in order to make you more effective in other areas, right? And so don't you run away from the idea when you're challenged. Face your challenge and deal with it and see it as a part of the process that's going to help you to grow. Give yourself permission to grow. Allow the spark in you to be unleashed through those challenges, right? If you strike a rock, it glitters, and from that glitter, you can build a campfire from striking the rock. And yes, sometimes you feel overwhelmed with it, but I want you to back up and say, hey, yes, this feels overwhelming, but I have what it takes to cope with it in a healthy way so that I can come out on the other side and celebrate the success that I've achieved from it. And so, for reflection, we're going to look at why is persistence a vital aspect for personal development. I want you to think about it. Why is it a vital aspect for personal development? Because it is from persistence that we build resilience, right? We build what? Persistence. We build persistence from trials, right? So persistence is a vital aspect for personal development because it helps to build resilience. In your own words, what is persistence? And I want you to think about writing a chapter or a response to that, a paragraph rather. What is the connection between persistence and endurance? Okay. Now remember, as I persist, right? I endure. As I'm enduring and going through it, I become more persistent. And the better I get at it when challenges come, I'll do better. And here is the fun part before we take our break. I would like you to formulate a personal mission statement that includes the word persistence. I would like you to formulate a personal mission statement that includes the word persistence. I want you to pause. We take our break. We're going to come back soon, but I'd like you to write a personal mission statement that includes the word persistence. And finally, why would you say that persistence is important? Why would you say it's important? Listen, this is your coach, Rolando. You are here. Join us live on the Spark Unleashed Challenge. If you have a question, if you'd like to jump on a live coaching call, please do so. We are going to take a break and we will be right back after this break. Guys, please don't go away. We have a lot more to talk about. And thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Spark Unleashed Challenge. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. We are looking at our second portion of our presentation, and we're talking about rest right now. And rest is one of those things that, many of us as men, we leave it for an afterthought. We leave it for an afterthought, right? And the important piece is for us to remember that daily relaxation and self care are essential, right? Can I reiterate that? Daily relaxation and self care are essential. We don't spend enough time to take care of ourselves as men, right? Because for some reason, it's almost as if it is not, how do you say it? We don't make it priority, right? We don't prioritize it, right? We sort of leave it for, when we have time, but it's very important for us as men to do what? Understand the value of relaxation and self-care. Okay? That's key. That's so important. How does play help with psychological help? It brings joy, it promotes better problem solving, creativity, and it improves relationship. We must maintain virtue and integrity. That is so important. We must maintain virtue and integrity, right? And guys, I'm going to say this to you right now. Many of us as men, we tend to not recognize that there are certain things that we do that creates what I call uh, a negative energy, the way we live our lives. When we maintain virtue and integrity, it's almost as if we are seeking to establish a space that is free of certain drama. Right? When we compromise on our virtues, when we compromise on our integrity, we are attracting certain negative things in our lives, and we are not recognizing that those things happen to us as a matter of the decisions that we make, the choices that we make. So we want to be consistent with maintaining some virtue and integrity. And as a man, you have to be mindful of not compromising on your integrity, right? That is very important, right? You have to be mindful of compromising your integrity. It says that we maintain virtue and integrity by eliminating self harming behaviors. So if you're hurting yourself, if you're hurting yourself, excessive drug use, excessive alcohol use, practicing things like pornography, okay, gambling, a bad gambling habit, all right. If you're a pathological, if you a pathological liar, okay, if you are not sleeping, not exercising, if you're not eating right, if you're living at fast food places, guess what? All of it is self-harming. Okay? If you have unaddressed mental health, it's self-harming. And so, how do we maintain virtue if we're not taking care of ourselves? But we maintain virtue and integrity if we are working on eliminating self-harming behaviors, right? Overwork is self-harming, right? And for some of you who hear this, if you're a workaholic, you might not realize, but you're harming yourself because you're running your body in overdrive more often than none. And so you have to work on eliminating that self harming behavior so you can maintain virtue and integrity. It's a real thing. So, what do you do for work? Are you the guy that's constantly doing overtimes? Do you know that are self harming? Because you're overworked. So, your body's overworked, and so is your brain, and you're sleep deprived. All right. So, we want to eliminate those behaviors as much as we can so that we can be better. Okay. Self harming behaviors, look at them: sleep deprivation, drugs and alcohol use, pornography, pessimism, living life without boundaries. All these are self harming behaviors. living life without boundaries where you're constantly putting yourself at risk or putting yourself in compromising positions. All these are self harming behaviors. And if you are going to maintain virtue and integrity, you have got to challenge these beliefs that you have. You've got to explore and look at, why am I putting myself at risk? Or why am I selling myself cheap? What's going on here with me? Those are questions that as men we tend to not ask as often. But if we engage in these sort of behaviors where we're hurting ourselves, we've got to break away from those cycles, right? And turn in a different direction where we can heal, we can grow, we can be better, right? And that's so important. So we have to be mindful of eliminating these self harming behaviors, right? Here are some others: lack of exercise, dehydration, okay? Not showering as oft. These are self harming behaviors. So if you're guilty of any of these, my challenge to you is that you have got to create a schedule, a system. You've got to create a way whereby you are going to break away from these self-harming behaviors. Right? Remember, guys, what we're talking about here is not a joke, Personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. So these self-harming behaviors, these negative lifestyle choices do not promote personal development, right? And so what we're saying here on Spark Unleashed is that you have got to take personal development rather more seriously, which means you have got to work a little harder at being mindfully aware of how you're going to do it and what you need to do in order to make it a reality. That's critical. And so that's why for many of us, we suffer from this syndrome that I placed it in an acronym. It's the West syndrome, which means what? We work, we eat, we shower, we sleep. That's a cycle. That's a cycle. And many of us, we are familiar with this cycle, right? But we have to remember this, that quitters find refuge in excuses, but winners keep going until they find solutions. So you have got to start looking at, what's the solution for my dilemma? What's the solution? What's going to help me to break this cycle? What's going to help me to be better? What is going to help me to grow? What's going to help me to move out of this cycle of self-harming and self-hurt and self-hate and self-critical thinking and irrational beliefs? What's going to move me out of it? And sometimes what we want to do as men is we want to start small. We want to identify small things that we can do that's going to help us to turn in a different direction and say to ourselves, hey, guess what? This is what it takes. This is what I need to do. This is what's going to help me to be better. This is how I'm going to win back the confidence of my partner. This is how I'm going to reconnect with my children. This is how I'm going to become more respected in my role as a professional. It's possible, man. I'm saying to you, I'm speaking to you right now. I'm saying to you, it is possible. You can do it. You've got what it takes to do it. Only believe in yourself, and you're going to be able to do it. I guarantee you. So, for reflection question, what are some of the psychological results of self-care? Right? We talked about it. Some of the results of self-care psychologically, right? Our brains are not as saturated with self doubt and self hate and excuses. We'll not focus on distractions. We become more and more intentional. with the things that we need to do that's going to help us to grow, to be better, right? Why is self care necessary for personal development? Remember, self care includes several different assets, several different arms, several different angles in order to become effective and efficient, right? And so, in response to this question, I want you to think about self care in a holistic place, understanding that self care is not about just about what I eat, or self care is not just about me exercising, or self care is not about me having a spiritual belief, right? Or self care is not about how much sleep I get. But self care is, how do I say it? It's a combination of all these things together, going in the same direction, sharing this relationship, symbiotic relationship, where they're collaboratively being integrated into your day to day, which is why we say to you over and over again that personal development is not an event. What is it? I'm hearing you. It's a lifestyle. Can we say together? Personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. So you have to take the initiative, right? The third question is, what was alluded to by researchers as an asset for better functionality? Did we see that? What's an asset? You remember? And I want you to go back because I want you to go back and look at this presentation so you can respond to the questions. Next one, what is the West syndrome and how do we combat it? Remember that West syndrome: work, eat, shower, sleep. Some of us, we even skip the shower as often as we can, right? But some of us are in this cycle, right? How do we combat it? We combat it by creating what I call a routine that integrates all the things that were mentioned and let them become a part of our day to day functioning, right? Not ignoring any, or not saying, or not giving any more importance than the other. Or sleep is important, or shower is important, or diet is important, exercise is important, setting boundaries is important, moving away from self harming behaviors is important. All these things are important. And I'm saying this right now that you are important. Can you say that? I am important. Yes, you mean something to somebody. You have value, you have worth. Your life can change today if you make the decision to do something different. That's all I'm saying. If you make the decision to break that cycle, if you make the decision to talk to somebody, if you make the decision to stop resisting the possibility of change, guess what? Something extraordinary is going to start happening in your life. And I'm going to tell you this, when it starts happening, I'm excited to see what your outlook is going to be. I'm excited to see how your life is going to change. I'm excited to see how the energy that you bring into the room is going to be different. I'm excited to see how the content of your conversations are going to be different. And your relationships, both interpersonal and personal, are going to be different. Because you are now intentionally integrating some of these things that you need to have in order to be the best version of yourself. And so outline the self-harming behaviors rather, that you need to work on. So this presentation here on Spark Unleashed is going to challenge you to outline any self-harming behavior that you need to work on. Whether it is psychologically inclined, emotionally, physically, socially, I need you to take some time to pinpoint that self harming behavior. And then I need you to seek to reach out and talk to somebody if you can't do it on your own. And I'm going to challenge you and say this, that many of us as men, we embrace shame. Well, I'm ashamed or I'm fearful. I don't want to be judged. I'm going to say it's time for you to face that fear. It's time for you to break away from this philosophy or this belief that it's shameful for a man to reach out and ask for help, or it's shameful for a man to do certain things, and just do it. Because those that you are looking at, and you are creating this idea that, well, it's going to look shameful, or I'm ashamed to admit, guess what? Sometimes they are in a worse position than you. Isn't that crazy? They are in a worse position than you, but you are looking to say, hey, I'm ashamed because I don't want. No, no more of that. Okay? So here's something, a question I want you to consider. How do I become the best version of myself? I want you to think about that. How do I become the best version of myself? Am I the best version of myself right now? Is there room for improvement? And if there is, what do I do? How do I move from this place or this space of mediocrity to a space of proper self management, to a place of motivation, to a place of growth? How do I move? What do I do? And so it's important for you to identify a goal, things that you can do, things that you think you want to start working on, that's going to lift you up out of, I want to say, the quicksand of your inconsistencies, and land you on the bank of determination, land you on the bank of motivation, land you on the bank of self driven, intentional decisions that's going to help you to heal. So I want you to think about this question here, which take us now over into our next point of the Spark Unleashed challenge here, the opening up. You see, many of us as men, we have mastered the art of bottling up, which is why I want to challenge us to open up. Open up, open those doors, open a window, allow the fresh air and the rays of light of change to enter into your psyche, to enter into your consciousness, to enter into your being, to enter into your mortal body, to enter into your space. Open up. Send out an invitation. Get ready for something powerful to happen in your experience, in your life, on your journey. Open up. Open up. We identify psychological barriers will improve self-image. So if you are not taking that time to identify those psychological barriers, then how is it that the self-image is going to increase? Remember, mindset makes a man or breaks a man. Can I repeat that again? Remember that mindset breaks a man or makes a man. I want you to repeat it. I'm quiet. I'm listening to you. What is it? Powerful. mindset breaks a man or makes a man. Okay? Remember, here are some of the psychological barriers: grief and loss. You lost a partner, you lost a long term relationship, or you lost a partner to death, or you lost a job, or you lost a best friend or a sibling. You lost a job. You lost your identity. You lost your ability to be mobile. So many different psychological barriers. Right now, what did you lose? You might have lost the capacity to believe in yourself again. This is why you've been stuck. This is why you've not been growing. Because you have lost the capacity to believe in yourself. You have been swimming around in a pool of self doubt. And it's almost as if you don't see a way out. The bank is right there, but you don't have what it takes. You don't have the strength to stretch. You don't even have the strength to turn towards the bank. And so you're swimming around in that lake of self-doubt and self-hate because you've lost your sense of self. Then there's trauma. What do you do for work? There's trauma that you have experienced. There's vicarious trauma based on things that you've been exposed to. And it has found what I call room and board in your psyche, in your emotions, in your sense of well-being. And you are there in it, stuck. And this trauma, it keeps coming up every now and again like an old faithful. It boils up to the top. It comes to the surface. And when it does, you lose your mojo. You feel inferior. You feel insignificant. You feel helpless because the pain has sunk deep. But here you are. I'm so happy that you showed up here for the Spark Unleashed Challenge. Because what we're saying is, though you may be going through these, there is a possibility for you to heal, for you to recover, for you to grow. Some of the other psychological barriers is anger. You're angry. You may be angry because you feel betrayed. You may be angry because you feel like nobody cares. You may be angry because someone that you thought would have your back, they let you down. Some of these are psychological barriers. You're struggling with anxiety. You're struggling with depression. You're struggling with low self esteem. And all these things are happening to you concurrently. And so you don't feel like you have what it takes. But I want you to recognize and understand this, that here on the Spark Unleashed Challenge, our goal is to remind you of one reality, that your past might have impacted you and influenced you, but it does not define you. It does not define you. What defines you are the decisions that you're going to make from this day forward. What defines you is your level of commitment to change. What defines you is you saying yes or no to a new possibility, to a new plane of possibility. There are so many road closed signs that we have. Unaddressed mental and emotional issues keeps us closed off from psychological healing. This is a fact. We have to address them. And many of us as men, one of the biggest things that we struggle with is being vulnerable because we perceive vulnerability as a plague. We see vulnerability as a weakness. We see vulnerability as a flaw in our masculine interpretation. We see vulnerability as a definite no no. But what if all this time we've been viewing vulnerability through the wrong lens? What if all this time vulnerability or being vulnerable is what we need to do in order to break this vicious stigma that has kept us stuck, that has deprived us, that has held us in the captivity of our own imaginations? So we want to work on that. We want to break those chains. How? By acknowledging that there's an issue. That's how we break chains, acknowledging that there's an issue. We want to reach out for help, want to talk to somebody. We want to be willing to do the work that is necessary. You have to be willing to do the work. I have to be willing to do the work. And when you do the work that's necessary, that is what helps us to heal. We want to challenge the stereotypes. This is a big one because you see, there are so many stereotypes. And when we listen or when we get hooked in by these stereotypical thinking, it hurts us. It prevents us from going forward and doing what we need to do in order to heal. But if we are going to heal and grow, we have to challenge stereotypes, right? We have to recognize that you are independent and not dependent. You are independent. You have autonomy. You have the capacity to make independent decisions so that you can break cycles, so that you can heal, so that you can grow. So here are some recommendations for recovery. We want to acknowledge the wound. We want to seek to connect with the appropriate professional so we can get help. We want to be willing to do our part. We're willing to do your part. Remember, this is something that it cannot be forced, but through willingness and acceptance and awareness, we can evolve, we can grow, we can heal, we can take things to the next level. So, one of the greatest gifts that I identified is the gift of choice. And so today, what we're challenging you to say on the Spark Release Challenge is I need you to recognize right now that you have this powerful gift at your fingertips. That powerful gift that is locked away right there in your brain, right? That powerful gift called a desire. That powerful gift that is there where you can reach out and you can say, hey, right now I'm committed to make this choice. I'm committed to make this choice where I'm going to do something different, something that is going to help me to be better. So making the right choices today will provide better stepping stones for tomorrow, right? Yes. And I'm saying if you make the right choice today, it will provide better stepping stones for tomorrow. You can do it. And right here we are. And thank you once again. I want to say for joining us on the Spark Unleashed Challenge. If these presentations have really been helpful to you, we encourage you to write a comment, type in the chat. Okay. Want you to like, share, subscribe. We continue to acknowledge, Aurora Media Group. Want to acknowledge Andre and his team. We want to also acknowledge Pressing Cuts printers, right? They're responsible for making nice banners like these and printing, shirts like these for us. So Pressing Cuts, shout out to you, Luke, Denise. We appreciate you. And if you want to connect with Pressing Cuts, guys, you can just send me a message here and I'll link you up with them. These are some of our sponsors for the Spark Unleashed Challenge. So stay tuned. We're going to go into more of a presentation. Don't go away, but we will be right back just to start off with our reflection questions. So once again, Spark Unleashed Challenge, thank you for joining us. And we will join you. We will continue in another few minutes. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. We're in the last segment of the Spark Unleashed Challenge. And for all those who have been here from the very beginning, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us. We continue to encourage you to like, share, subscribe, and please, we want to hear from you how these presentations have been helpful. So, later today, tomorrow, we take the time when you listen to the presentation. We just want to encourage you to share your thoughts. And if there's anything that you'd like us to discuss, you can share it. We have another series of Spark Unleashed coming up later on in this year. You can look out for that. And we want you to sign up for that. We want you to share the information with everyone that's in your friendship circle and let them know that there's something powerful going on, right? There's a safe space for men, right? Why? Because right here at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. And so every man is welcome to come into this space so that we can engage and we can experience what I want to call that shift, where we can ignite the spark that's in you and say, hey, let's get on board and let's do it together. So last time we break, we talk about some things we need to do. We talk about improving our self-image and how do we improve that. And I want you to reflect on what we mentioned, and also I wanted to reiterate this, that if we're going to improve our self-image, we have got to confront some of the stereotypes. Did we say that? There are so many stereotypes. There are so many things that as men we hold on to as if to say it is how it's supposed to be. And I'm saying we should start challenging some of those stereotypes. We should break out of some of those cycles so that we can become the best version of ourselves. The next thing is, we need to identify at least one barrier that prevents success. And remember, we spoke about so many barriers. We spoke about things like grief and loss. We spoke about anger, spoke about trauma, right? We spoke about, irrational thinking and all those different pieces that we mentioned in our presentation. And I want you to know that as a man, you possess the capacity to do something different. You got what it takes to do it. All right. And so we just want to challenge you. That's what we do here on the Spark Unleashed challenge. We want to challenge you that as a man, there is a possibility for change. As a man, there's a possibility for you to do something different. As a man, there's a possibility that you can start breaking those vicious cycles so you can achieve some success, right? So we talked about recovery, and we want you to take the time now to pause and write down 3 steps of recovery, 3 things that you can do to recover, 3 things that you can do, okay, to change the trajectory, 3 things that you can do to create new opportunities. All right. And remember, we talked about one of the greatest gifts that you have, right? That's the gift to choose. You can choose right now as you are here, as you're watching this presentation. I'm going to say this to you right now. You have the ability to choose. So right now you may be going on a path, and I'm saying this to you. You can say, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm ready. I'm ready to do something different. And you can choose. Never say never. Never say you can't. Never make excuses. Never set barriers. Don't resist the possibility for change. Grab it and start working towards it. That is the power that you have when you utilize this gift of choice. Now we're going to look at the balance. The balance, right? Physical, social, spiritual, and psychological wellness is important to facilitate balance, right? Sometimes we're living like this or like this. What we're saying is we want to create balance. And by integrating these assets, by integrating these different nuggets here, we create that balance, right? And through creating that balance, we find now that we have equilibrium, right? And as we build that equilibrium, we are more effective in our relationships, both personally and professionally. That's the goal, right? You like that. I would like that for you. And I think you would like that for you. Right? Building those relationships that's going to help you to be the best version of yourself, to unleash that spark in you so that you can go away rejoicing and saying to yourself, this is well worth it. I did it. So, why is work life balance important? To remain sane, sensible, grounded, and more aware about our needs. There's an old cliche that says all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Have you ever heard it? I'm not sure where you are located, or but it's something that we have heard from my own cultural background. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I'm not sure, you may have something similar depending on your geographical location. But it's so important to understand that, we need that work life balance. That's so important. So don't take that for granted. That's key. We must practice moderation until it becomes habitual, right? Moderation. So, what is it? It's avoiding excess or extremes, right? Moderation is self control, right? Moderation is what? Self control. We need to work on that, many of us as men, self control. Sometimes we tell ourselves, once I start, I can't stop. And yes, of course, sometimes we struggle, some of us we struggle with some addiction and we find it challenging, right? Like once I start this thing, Rolando, I can't stop it. But what we want to look at is how do we practice self control, moderation, right? That is so important, right? There's also self discipline, right? Having balance in our life is like the oxygen that keeps our souls alive, right? It's so important to have what? Balance. So, are you balanced? What are some of those things that you find? Hey, Rolando, I do so much of this, but this I leave out. Or I do so much of this, Rolando, but this. We want to look at how do we bring things on equal par so that I'm able to do what? Live a better quality of life, right? That's so important. So there are four foundational principles that promotes balance. And I mentioned they're spiritual, they're social, physical, and psychological. These are principles that promotes balance. And sometimes what I find is we are so driven to make sure that all our physical needs are met. That's how we are as men, right? I'm able to buy a nice muscle car, nice motorcycle, nice boat, nice truck, a nice camper, nice clothing, hmm? All physical stuff. But we don't realize that the physical, when all our physical needs are met, there's still a void. Because why? We're socially deprived, right? We're physically deprived. We're spiritually stagnant, right? And so we wonder sometimes why, hey, I feel like something's missing, right? And I've heard it so many times. I've heard so many times, man, to Rolando, I have everything, but I just feel something is missing. Because sometimes we've been living so long in the physical realm that we fall out of touch with the social or the psychological. I didn't even mention the spiritual for those of you may think, I don't want to hear about that. But for me, I was able to reset when I started to open myself up to the possibility of having some spiritual integration of some kind into my own life. That's what brought the balance on my own journey. So I'm not telling that but I'm saying it's something that could be considered. Why? Because we need balance, spiritual, social, physical, and psychological. And for many of us, our life is wrapped up in social and physical, but the psychological and the spiritual, we don't even acknowledge it as something that we need to pay attention to. Which is why when you hit the ground, sometimes we hit it so hard because we're a psychological wreck and we're also spiritual dummies. So we have no idea what direction to go. We are struggling to find ourselves, right? And I can challenge you to tell you that you will never find yourself in physical things or social things. Finding yourselves mean getting in touch and getting connected with your inner self, who you are internally, psychologically, who you are, spiritually, who you are. And that's what helps to create balance, right? That's what helps to create balance. So, what's spirituality? Spirituality is being mindfully aware about one's mental stability and standards of morality. That's what it is, right? Social savviness. Do we share the same values? Will this help me to be my best self? How will this environment help to enhance personal growth? How often do you ask yourself that question? Have you been compromising on your values and your standards because the fear of missing out? Because, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of this group. I want to, but how is it helping you to grow? What is it doing for you as a person? Is there anything more to the environment than what it is? Have you ever left that environment and feel intellectually stimulated, emotionally satisfied, psychologically at rest? Or do each time you go, you leave the same way? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. These are things that you need to think about, right? Then there's a physical sustenance. Physical exercise helps to rid the body of the stress hormone called cortisol. So now we're talking about exercising. A healthy mind equals what? A healthy body. That's powerful. A healthy mind equals a healthy body. And I'm saying this, reiterate, mindset makes a man or breaks a man. So, what's your mindset right now? As you have been watching this presentation from the beginning, if you were here yesterday, you came back today, what are some of the things that you have picked up that you have decided that you want to start to integrate into your own life's journey that's going to help you to be the best version of yourself? What spark has this presentation unleashed in your mind's eye that's going to challenge you to do something different? Then there's a psychological wellness. And it says, my psychological health is my responsibility. Whose is it? It's yours. We need honesty and boldness to be vulnerable, right? Because repetition deepens impression, right? That's the process. And so now, as we come to the conclusion of our presentation tonight, we'll once again look at some reflection questions. Reflection question number one is this: in your opinion, why would you say balance is important for personal development? I want you to think about that. Secondly, what does it mean to be the best version of you? Thirdly, name two personal decisions for making options that promote psychological health. And fourth, I need you to write a paragraph to yourself about how you can implement more balance. Write a paragraph to yourself about ways that you can implement more balance. Listen, guys, a life that is lived on a balanced foundation is the pillar of psychological wellness. Let me reiterate that for you. A life that is lived on a balanced foundation, right? Does what? Is a pillar, right? Is the pillar of psychological wellness. So I want to challenge you. I want to say thank you firstly for staying with us for the Spark Unleashed Challenge. We've come to the end of day number 2, right? If these presentations were helpful for you, I do look forward to hearing from you, right? I hope that you will be able to take some time to give us some feedback about what this presentation did for you. In the meantime, guys, this is your coach, Rolando, on XY Spark. And we continue to reiterate and remind you that at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. I would like you to take the initiative and recognize that this spark can be ignited in you and you can become the best version of you. For those who have joined us tonight, we really thank you so much for being here with us. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. In the meantime, walk good and you take care. This is your boy Rolando. I'm out, and we will see you again next time for another presentation. Do have a good night, and we'll talk to you again real soon.